Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Hour. Sorry for the delay there. I was trying to check my phone to see if I can see the chat, but I can, but there's a delay or some kind of something like that. And I tried to figure out how to see it on OBS, but that didn't work. So I might have to switch to like StreamYards eventually. I was trying to avoid that because it costs money that I don't have really, but we'll try. I'm going to try over the next couple days to see if I can figure this out because I really want to interact with people. It was nice seeing people last time. Like I said, I think Darren M was there, and I could try to take a quick look, but like I said, there's like this little echo delay thing, and I can't figure out how to maybe mute it on my phone. Darren M was there, and but it doesn't look like anybody's there right now anyway. But this is the Red Hour, and I'm the Dead Man, and this is a show where I talk about a random episode of Star Trek 2 times a week. One day on Wednesday at 8 p.m. and 11 and and then again on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I want to go over a couple things that I forgot to mention in the last episode, which was it starts off on the holodeck. The last episode, I forget the name of it. It starts off on the holodeck, and Janeway and Seven are playing like this this laser tag game or whatever. And like I said before, whenever Janeway is in like civilian clothes or something, not in her uniform, I never thought she was hot, but she looks pretty good in the beginning of this episode, and she's got a new haircut, which helps. And then I also wanted to just briefly mention how that last episode, they rushed the ending on that. I forgot to mention that. But anyway, before we start on this week's episode, I just want to talk about Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I promise this will all connect together. It's all going to make sense once I'm done. So I never watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch when I was like, when it was on. Like occasionally I'd pop in for an episode or two, but I always liked Melissa Joan Hart. I liked Clarissa Explains It All growing up. She was like the crush that I had, a TV crush, other than Tiffany Amber Thiessen. But with Tiffany Amber Thiessen, she was like, felt like the girl that there's no way I could get that chick, But Melissa Joan Hart seemed more like, maybe I would stand a chance with her. But anyway, a few months back, I was on Paramount Plus, and I was like flipping around looking for something to watch. There was like maybe, some show had just ended. Maybe it was like House of the Dragon or something, and I was waiting for another show to begin. I don't remember exactly when this was, but it's been, at least a few months ago. And I know House of the Dragon ended like a while back. I'm just giving an example. So I was flipping around and I was watching some old teenage Sabrina episodes, and the last one that I watched before I started watching other stuff was one where there was like, it was Halloween, and apparently every Halloween something, Sabrina didn't like Halloween. And I don't know if anybody else in the chat, if there's anybody in the chat, if anybody else remembers this episode, please feel free to comment on it. But there's a Halloween episode, and she's like in college at this point, and she's working in a coffee shop, and there's like some zombies. And in order to stop the zombies, she has to do something. She has to embrace the spirit of Halloween. So, and her boss had was going out somewhere and wasn't going to be back for another hour or two. So, so she plays like this turns on this jukebox, and the Backstreet Boys' Larger Than Life comes on. Okay, why am I bringing this up? Because it made me think of a story that Rick Berman told, where the higher-ups, the CBS higher-ups, I forget his name, he hated Star Trek. I want to say Les Grossman, that's not it. Les Moonves, yeah. He hated Star Trek and wanted to make, I don't know what the thinking was, but they wanted to have boy bands on, and they would do like a song, on the mess hall, like halfway through the episode or something. That was his, and to his credit, I mean, a lot of people give Rick Berman crap, but to his credit, he said no to that idea. And when I saw that episode of Sabrina, I was like, is this like the precursor to that idea? And that somehow that idea floated around because I guess Sabrina was like on ABC, like somehow that idea floated around and it got to Les Moonves or something. I don't know. That's why I brought it up. Plus, today's episode is the haunting of Deck 12. So that Sabrina episode was directly a Halloween, meant to be like a Halloween episode, aired during the Halloween season. And I looked it up to see if this episode of Voyager was near the Halloween season, and it wasn't. It aired in May of 2000, like 25 years ago. Oh my god. And it just got me thinking, because Star Trek never specifically did like holiday specials or Halloween specials. I mean, there's episodes, there's Cat's Paw. Enterprise did like a zombie episode. They did like a vampire episode, and they did like a ghost episode. But I don't think those were like intentionally like, we're gonna put this out on Halloween. American Horror Story used to look forward to the Halloween episode of American Horror Story. It was those were always like so good up until after Apocalypse, that show went downhill. But I just I wish maybe Strange New Worlds will do it. I doubt it. I don't even know when Strange New Worlds airs. It's got to be coming soon, so no, it wouldn't be around in time for Halloween. But I just thought, wouldn't that be cool to have like a specific Halloween episode meant to air during the October, but you'd have to have Star Trek on at a regular basis. It would have to be like the old days in order for that to even happen. unless they just release, some kind of special. I guess what would be the point of that? I don't know. Would anybody even watch it? It'd have to be. It would be Kurtzman Trek, so probably not. So anyway, Voyager Season 6, Episode 25, The Haunting of Deck 12. So it opens in the mess hall, and Neelix is there, and he's like, I guess, closing down for the night. Turns off the lights and is about to walk out, and all of a sudden Seven shows up and kind of startles him. And another thing I'd like to say about Seven is I mentioned in the last episode that there was some character development there, and then of course in Picard she's all of a sudden a lesbian. That's my cat making noise, by the way. All of a sudden a lesbian, she's like going around murdering people, and what they did to Icheb is unforgivable. Like Kurtzman, that's unforgivable. Like Icheb, I really like Icheb, and he's in this episode, and that just, I wish we could get. She did get some character development in Picard, but it's like she was already on her way to be like Starfleet-ish in the first place. So then you turn her into like this murderous, bounty hunter type person. What the fuck? But anyway, so Seven comes to Neelix and says we're gonna have to turn off the main power to the ship. I assume they're just running off auxiliary power or something like that. And at this time, the Borg kids, I guess that's what I call them, they're in regeneration mode, and so that power shut off would pull them out of their regeneration mode, and I'm gonna need you to kind of like babysit them while I do something else. She'll be an astrometric. I struggled with this word last time. Astrometrics. And so, and back on the bridge, we see that the ship, that Voyager is facing a nebula, and my cat is just doing something crazy. I don't know, but they see this nebula, and Harry Kim says something like, "It looks like a vampire bat," and Tom says something else, and Tuvok is like, I don't know why you guys try to see things when they're not there. And I wanted to explain this because I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite YouTube channels out there, the Y-Files. They're awesome. Also, we're going to give a shout out to Admiral Teague, if he's out there. Thanks for letting me promote my channel yesterday. And also Darren M, he's a mod for Script Doctor. Script Doctor has a show on Saturdays called Script on Saturdays, where he goes over a script that's either been produced, filmed or whatever, or something. I don't know the whole plug. Sorry, but he does his show at 7 p.m. Eastern. But anyway, Y-Files taught me the word pareidolia, and that's when you look at a cloud and you might see an animal or whatever, or like people thought they saw the face on Mars. when there supposedly wasn't one, but we'll leave it at there at the, we'll leave it at there. Uh, so, anyway, back to the episode. Um, so Neelix is basically babysitting the Borg kids. You have Icheb is the only one that I specifically remember his name because he was the most, I guess, prominent one. You have the girl and you have the twins. Uh, and if anybody out there knows their name, please, or maybe I should just look it up next time. But oh, and somebody sent me a message, I think last week, and said that the doctor did end up giving himself a name, and it was like Dr. Shevitz or Shevitz, something, which sounds kind of Jewish. So, and the old joke that a lot of doctors are Jews. But Neelix is babysitting the Borg kids, and they've got this light. It's like a campfire story type thing where they're questioning him. They're like, why is deck 12 nobody can access it except for the captain? And one of them says that Naomi Wildman told him it was haunted. And Neelix is like trying to say it's not haunted, and all this stuff, and they finally convince him to tell why nobody can go to deck 12. So he tells them that it started like months before they arrived there, and they entered a nebula. And as they enter the nebula, shit starts going bad. Like the ship is like shaking, and all this stuff, is going wrong. Oh, the replicator isn't working. So, and Janeway's trying to get some coffee, and it just kind of melts away or whatever, and she's like talking to the ship, and she's like, this is the worst time to do this to me, and so then the ship gets zapped, and you see like this little lightning thing on the outside, and then like I said, stuff starts just going haywire, and Chakotay has to go to engineering, so he gets into the turbo lift, and during the whole episode, they switch back to like Neelix and the kids, and they're like asking him questions, and Icheb is like says something about something doesn't is it the buzzards, or I don't, says something doesn't do something. It never would do that something. I can't I should have wrote this down, but so he's at this time he's telling about Chakotay getting on the turbo lift, and the turbo lift starts like dropping really fast to deck 13, and he's kind of like sucked up to the top. They don't show it. They're at this point they're showing the kids and Neelix telling the story, and then all of a sudden the inertial dampers like kick in, and Chakotay's fine. And then like I said, Icheb keeps interrupting, and the little girl goes, stop interrupting. And I thought that was pretty funny. And this is it's a light episode. It's it's not anything scary, but if I were to put it on the list of something to, if you want to watch something Star Trek for Halloween, yeah, definitely on the list. It's a ghost story. Uh, so 7 is here we go again. Astrometrics. How the actors said it, don't know. They probably messed it up a bunch of times. Uh, she gets trapped in the cargo bay because at this time it's clear that there's something on the ship, and there's like this blob of gas, and she's like scanning something or doing something, and the the blob like comes out and she doesn't see it, and then she starts like choking and can't breathe and stuff, and almost, and passes out. At this same time, luckily, Bolana and Chakotay are in the area, and they find her and they take her to the sick bay. Then in the and so they go to then it switches to the mess hall, and people are eating, and it's dark, but there's still a little bit of light. People are eating and chatting, and Neelix is there, and again shit starts flickering and going haywire, and Harry stands up and says to everybody, go back to your posts. And I'm like, who the fuck are you, dude? You're an ensign. You can't tell them what to do, but they do it. They just get up and do it. And then Neelix is like, what should I do? Should I come with you or blah blah? And he's like, no, you should stay here, and basically orders him to stay here. And I'm like, Harry Kim, you have no authority, but people just listen to him anyway. So then then the crew, everybody kind of realizes, okay, we're dealing with an entity now. They're in engineering. Janeway, Chakotay, Bolana are in engineering, and Tuvok. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let me just say they're in engineering, and all of a sudden the computer voice starts going off. And this is, when this first started, the computer was like, saying shit, and it was didn't make any sense. And she instructs Harry to kind of like turn it off somehow, whatever you got to do. And so I guess that's a little bit of foreshadowing that I didn't think of until just now. So then the computer starts talking, and at first they think it's just the computer being broken again and not working, but then it starts saying things that make up like a sentence, and so she starts talking to it. And another thing is like she's like pleading with the ship, like, please, Voyager, come on, work. And Tom gets zapped. And what they call this entity is an electromagnetic life form. So, and there's also a point where Harry is like trying to get to engineering, because at this point they have to leave the bridge because the entity is like changing the environment so they can't even breathe, and trying to make it more like that nebula that they were at. And he runs into this Bajoran girl, and she's at first she's like frightened because the lights are flickering and stuff in the corridors, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you were maybe the ship was invaded by Hirogen or the Borg or something like that." And Harry's like, he says, "There are no aliens running around in the corridors," and I thought that's pretty interesting because uh, the whole ship is full of fucking aliens except for the humans. But I guess in the world of Star Trek, it would be not, they are integrated. So like other aliens, like it's just I thought that was kind of funny line. And so Neelix is stuck in the mess hall, and all of a sudden he hears this sound of the doors like opening and closing, and he's like, "Is anybody out there?" It's like a horror movie. "Anybody out there?" And starts looking around. He's got his little flashlight. That they have on their hand. Uh, why not just have like a regular flashlight where you just carry it around? Like like a lightsaber or whatever. Why not just have that? I mean, I know it's trying to be like futuristic, but I mean, a flashlight's a flashlight. Uh, but yeah, they have those little hand things. In TNG they had like a little hand thing, but it was different. Um, TOS, I don't remember if they ever used flashlights. Um, if they did, it probably looked like an old '60s flashlight. In Deep Space Nine, they had like, I think they had a little bit of both, maybe. But anyway, he's looking around and can't see anything, and all of a sudden, jump scare. Tuvok comes around, and of course, this is 2000, so jump scares are all the rage. And not that they didn't have jump scares before, but I mean that's all we ever get now in horror movies. So Tuvok, he's got this little gas mask, and it looks kind of like the one that Han wears in Empire Strikes Back when they're on that asteroid and the giant worm thing. Uh, he informs Nilix, what's going on. There's an alien on board, and it's messing up the environment, and they have to get to engineering because that's where Janeway is kind of set up a base camp. I guess the engineering hasn't been touched yet, and of course, and they have to go through like Jeffrey's tubes and all kinds of stuff because the turbo lifts aren't working properly, and of course, this is another instance of Neelix just annoying the shit out of Tuvok. And so so they're going through the corridors, and so I kind of skipped ahead a little bit on that whole thing with Janeway talking to the computer. But the computer starts talking, and they're trying to like work out something, and the alien wants her to go to astrometrics. There, I said it right. I always want to say astromech, like Star Wars, And so her and Seven go to astrometrics, and the alien wants them to go. Basically, tells them, I want to go back to the nebula. So she looks on the screen, and it turns out that nebula. She's like, "I'm sorry, but the gas must have dissipated. It's no longer there." And I sound like a hick. And so the she's well, the alien starts like flooding the room with gas and is like angry, and and that's when we have another interruption, uh, where I guess the girl says something like, "Why is it angry?" And Icheb's like, "Well, their home is destroyed," and those kids are like, especially Icheb, they're like, 7 too, like the straight man to Neelix's, funny guy or whatever, and it works. It works good. I actually like it. And I'm not a big kid fan, but and I know that that every time somebody is like saved from the Borg or whatever, that diminishes the Borg, because and a lot of people say, having a Borg queen was a bad idea. I think Robert Meyer Burnett didn't like it. And Voyager does diminish the Borg a lot. They're not as scary as they were in TNG, and I mean even Hugh. But that being said, since we've already done it, the kids are not bad. The kids, I actually like them, and so meanwhile, Tuvok and Neelix are going through a corridor, or they're crawling through like a Jeffries tube or something, and he gets zapped. And he's like, "Leave me behind. And it's only logical." And Neelix is like, "I don't care about your logic. I'm taking you with me." And they're close to engineering. They're almost there. And so then it becomes clear that this alien's not gonna take no for an answer. So she orders everyone to abandon ship, and then she stays behind, and which is what a captain would do, right? That's what you're supposed to do, unless it's Michael Burnham. She would like be like Superwoman and do something, cry cry to death until the alien leaves, and then they would have a struggle session, and then hug it out at the end, and maybe even sing a song. Uh, but yeah, in normal circumstances, in normal Star Trek, Janeway does the right thing. So she stays behind and tries to, the alien, like, again, it's like flooding it with gas, and she can't breathe, and that's when Neelix says to the kids that the alien was like trying to call her bluff, but she wasn't bluffing. She's like, and if you kill me, it's just like the other day's episode. If you kill me, you'll be killing yourself. Except for in this instance, this alien does care and wants to live. And she's like, I can find you another nebula to go to. And it keeps saying, unacceptable or something like that. And she basically pulls like a old school like Kirk with the like M5 type thing, where she's like, I'll blow up the damn ship if I fucking have to, but she wasn't bluffing, and at the last minute the oxygen comes back. The gas is sucked out of the room, and the oxygen comes back, and then we switch back to the power being restored on the ship, and the kids are like, well, they're like questioning whether the story was even real in the first place, and they have to go back to their alcoves. So as they're going back to their alcoves, Neelix is like, oh, it's just a ghost story, and Icheb's like, oh, I knew it wasn't true all along. Ever since you said the thing that doesn't do the thing, I can't, like I said, I can't remember what. If it was like the nacelle, it was something. The buzzards, the Bizarre collectors. But I don't think it was that. They mentioned the Bizarre collectors, but I don't think it was that. I think it was something else. The sensors. Maybe it was the Bizarre collectors, but they don't do what you said they do. So therefore, I knew the story wasn't true in the first place. Then it goes back to the bridge, and they're on the bridge, and they see that nebula, another nebula, and basically they release the alien into the nebula, and that's the end of the episode. And like I said the other day, when I was choosing this episode, or the random generator chose the episode, and yes, Darren M., if you're out there, I hope it's not another Voyager episode. And if it is, I hope it's a good one. Like I said, that other day, I'm not going to sit here and rank every single one of them, but I did say at that time, it's about a 6 or 6.5, and I would say that. That's fair. It's a higher end of the middling. Because I think some people say, well, a 5 is middle. I heard Raging Rhino say that, and he was like whining about it. I was like, okay, what if you just said a higher end or a lower end of the middle? I mean, like Pabst Blue Ribbon. They have on the tops, you can pick the card, and my friend, like when he goes to a bar, the bartender will say, oh, it's a middle high, to kind of give them a hint as to what it is. Basically, if you guess what it is, you get a free beer. But I don't like Pabst Blue Ribbon. I drink Angry Orchard or White Claw. I've been drinking White Claw lately, and I've lost about 10-15 pounds over, say, 6-7 months. So I'm gonna pick the random episode for Sunday, and again, Sundays is at 8 p.m. I'm gonna pick that episode and kind of show you guys, because right now it's still on. I haven't touched it. So here we go. Randomize me. I guess it's called Random Episode Generator. It's pretty clever. Whoever made it. Fuck yeah. Alright. Can you see it? Enterprise. Dawn. I don't know if I remember. I've seen it. Don't know if I remember it. I'm gonna try to look that up. Enterprise at Dawn. It's probably not a good one. No, God, I don't want to go to your stupid app. I'm sorry, guys and gals. Somebody see it goes to the same fucking Stupid website. Yes, Star Trek. What is the... Oh yeah, this episode, Tucker or Trip is stuck on a moon. It's kind of like Enemy Mine, and yeah, I remember that. I remember that episode. I so it's not horrible. We'll see, but I'm gonna try something. I don't want to go back to that echo thing, but I'm gonna have to like try to go open up another page or something and see. So you guys won't be able to see me, but I'm gonna try to interact with the chat if there's anybody out there. Let's see if it works. I can probably mute it. I can't figure out how to mute it on my phone because I'm fucking retarded. But let's get... Okay, view your channel. Okay, here we go. This I can mute. Let's see if it works. I can probably mute it. And there's nobody out there in the chat, so it doesn't matter. That sucks. But oh well. I did gain a subscriber. That was Admiral Teague, so that's cool. Well, thank you to Admiral Teague again, and thank you to anybody that comes along in the future and watches this episode. Hopefully somebody will pop in. I'm glad I didn't get another Voyager episode. If you have anything to comment after I'm done, feel free to make that comment. But you know, 43 minutes, that's about how long an episode of Star Trek is, so I guess I'm gonna end it there. Good night, everybody.